Welcome back to Tabletop Titans and another Titan Tactics. We are here today to determine once and for all who is the strongest Primarch on the table. If you find this video to be useful, interesting, or entertaining, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps us grow the channel. Thank you so much. With that, let's dive on in and take a look at these Primarchs. So of course, first we need to talk about what are our requirements for being the strongest Primarch on the table. Well, we're looking at three categories. It's very scientific, of course. We're looking at their damage output, we're looking at their synergies and what they offer to the army, and we're looking at their points cost. So each Primarch is going to receive a score in each of these categories, and whoever has the highest combined score is going to take the win, and the winner might surprise you. So our first Primarch for today, we are going in release order. We have Magnus, the Red of the Thousand Suns. Boy, oh boy, this guy is very interesting because he functions in a number of phases. He's got his psychic powers and he's got his melee. Basically, if a Primarch has psychic, if they have shooting, we're allowing them to have one round of that, and we're looking at the averages. So of course, some of these Primarchs are going to be spikier than others, and this is a factor that we're not so much playing in because we're looking at the average numbers and what you can really reliably count on. So first of all, let's dive on and take a look. First of all, Magnus the Red, look, he does a lot of damage. This is with your melee and your psychic combined. We're looking at a few different profiles for each of these. We have Leman Russes, we have Rhinos, we have Terminators, we have Marines, and we have Guardsmen. So the question is, how much damage can they do to each of these? Magnus, we're looking at 15 damage in melee plus 9 mortal wounds. We're thinking about things like Doombolt, a Smite, and Firestorm. So pretty reliable from him, of course, looking at 9 mortal wounds. And yeah, for a total of 24 damage there. Against Rhinos, we're taking it up just a little bit, surprisingly. This is 29. Kind of makes sense because the mortal wounds, they are sort of target agnostic, which is interesting. You know, you're not going to do better or worse against most targets, whereas the damage can really vary from target to target. Looking at the Terminators, he's killing a grand total of 7 Terminators here. And the Marines, it is a grand total of 11. Guardsmen, of course, are interesting because they are a single wound profile, which means the fact that he does not have a sweep is going to hurt his damage output here. We're looking at 15 Guardsmen killed, which again, not much higher than the Marines because of that profile. That is his damage output. It is quite formidable, but we don't have anything to compare it against just yet, so let's keep that in mind. Let's take a look at his synergies. He's got very flexible powers, access to everything in the book, can be very maneuverable, can put out a ton of smites, can buff out your own units, of course. The one difficulty is he actually also takes away synergies from the army in the sense that if you have Magnus going in, you probably want to glamour him, you probably want to give him the 4+ invuln, and so these are buffs that are really well suited to other parts of the army. So that is kind of a pro and a con. Good at doing the buffs, but he'll take away those buffs, and you could frankly have someone else casting them, so it's not unique to him, right? However, he does have Chapter Master, which is unique to him. Can't get that anywhere else in the book, so that definitely counts for something. So those are his synergies. And last of all, this guy's clocking in currently at 420 points. That's Magnus. Let's take a look at the next Primarch to be released. Cast your mind back to the days where we only had one Primarch and it was Magnus, and Shining Guilliman comes in, shows up, and absolutely changes the game. But where is he nowadays? Well, let's take a look, starting of course with the melee output. Guilliman does have the Hand of Dominion, so we're going to give him one round of shooting with that before he runs in with the Emperor's Sword. So let's take a look. Leman Russes, you can see pretty steep drop off from Magnus. We're looking at 11 damage in melee and on average 0 with the Hand of Dominion to Leman Russes. Into Rhinos, pretty interesting, 20 damage, so big increase there. And Terminators down to 4, Marines down to 9. And you can see the shooting profile kind of increase as you're going into targets that's better suited to all these different infantry, right? Guardsmen seems to be very much the level playing field here, killing 12 Guardsmen. I don't know, Guilliman, not so impressive here. Synergies, however, is where Bobby G does shine. He does have shooting and melee, which is kind of cute for solving for certain scenarios. His big thing, of course, is he's a Chapter Master in a bubble for all core. This is a massive buff that is virtually unprecedented, especially since the Silent King was nerfed to the ground. So this guy is going to give full rerolls to all core in the bubble and bonuses to characters as well. He's going to give you extra movement with bonuses to your movement characteristic and your charge. And has an amazing warlord trait allowing you to heroically intervene when you're within 6 of him. This really plays and leans well into the Ultramarine style of play. Some armies might not be as strong, but honestly, this guy is going to be front and center into your Ultramarines army and really synergy is what he brings. This is the master tactician, so doing quite well in the synergy category. And finally, another category he's going to be excelling at is the points. As you can see, because he doesn't hit quite as hard, because he doesn't have as many wounds as these other Primarchs, very cheap. 300 points, which is not bad. Of course, 8th edition came out and changed the entire world. Once again, Mortarion hit the deck running at the start of the edition with the release of the Death Guard. Let's take a look at his damage math currently in 9th edition. Well, here we're looking at, of course, melee, plus the ranged attack, plus psychic. In this case, we're looking at a smite for a couple mortal wounds. He does have access to other powers, but generally, we're going to kind of hit the average at these two right here. So, Leman Russ's, how is he doing? Amazing. This is using the Eviscerating Blow, the big hits, which are very reliable, 3 plus D3 damage, doing 24 damage in melee, 2 damage with smite, taking us up to 26. And then Rhinos, even better, we're looking at a total of 32 damage. This is including the bombs as well, of course. And as we go down, we can see the shooting profiles and the melee profiles start to adjust. Killing only 5 Terminators here, Eviscerating Blow plus the shooting and smite. And here you can see where it's kind of this midline profile where his big swings are going to overkill Terminators, his small swings actually aren't as efficient, so it's a bit tougher for him compared to the other Primarch. Marines, we're getting up to 8, and we're switching to the Sweeping Blow. This is the Scythes profile and Phosphex Bombs. And finally, Guardsmen. This is, and always has been, frankly, Mortarion's favorite target. Here we're going up to a massive 23 that we kill with the Scythe, the Phosphex Bombs, and the Smite. So Mortarion, lots of damage output here. We can see quite scary, despite not having as much psychic as Magnus. Synergy-wise, he's interesting because he brings a few different things. He is a captain, and when you have him, he has to be Arch Contaminator. Now, while Arch Contaminator is not amazing for him, basically he is already rolling 1s to wound natively from his plague weapons, and Arch Contaminator is not going to affect him, but it will affect everyone around him, giving those full rerolls to wound with plague weapons. So it's annoying you have to take him on him, but it's not a bad buff to have anyways. He of course gets the extra contagion as well. This really lets you tech into a specific role. It might be making him tougher, but frankly it could be used for buffs, debuffs. It's very flexible, and you can tailor it towards your list. So this is a big plus in terms of synergy for Mortarion. And of course, honestly, he's a distraction card effects. Clocking in, let's talk about the points while we do this. Clocking in at 450 points. He is a little pricey, but cheap enough that he is a massive problem that your opponent has to deal with, and is that turn 1, turn 2 threat that allows the rest of your slow Death Guard to make it up the field. So we're kind of giving him some points there for being a quite effective distraction card effects. Honestly, when you're taking these big models, that is one of the biggest assets that they can bring. And of course, we have the recently released Angron, the Red Angel. Absolutely adore this beautiful boy. But let's take a look at the damage. Probably no one is surprised to see this massive output here. Going into Leman Russ's, 28 damage with the Skull taking Slash. Keep in mind, we are looking at these without buffs. We know that you can get Blood Tithe, we know that you can get different bonuses and things like that, but it begins to become very complicated as you factor that into different Primarchs. So this is unbuffed Angron still doing a massive 28 damage to Leman Russ's, 42 damage to Rhinos, could kill 4 Rhinos with the Skull taking Slash, and 6 Terminators killed with the Skull taking Slash, just a very efficient profile. We're up to 10 Marines killed and 25 Guardsmen. Both of these last two with the Bloodletting Sweep with a massive number of attacks. Of course, can get an extra EP, can get Exploding Sixes, but we're not looking at that today. Frankly, it's probably enough. Synergy-wise, Angron gives more synergies than you might think. Of course, gives you Blood Tithe points, helps generate them by both killing and dying. His auras are quite good. He can give +1 attack, he can give his captain rerolls, and of course he can prevent fallbacks, which is quite useful to help the rest of the army get stuck in, stay in the combat as long as they want. And of course, a big distraction card effects, bigger and better than Mortarion, because not only does he come back, but looking at the points now, he is significantly cheaper, so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. This is just an amazing distraction for card effects, and you set him in as soon as you can, you create problems for your opponent, and you keep bringing him back over the course of the game. So what does this all mean? Let's take a look at the scores that each of these Primarchs gained on their journey to the top. Well, in each category, we have ranked them from top to bottom. In damage, of course, it's purely who can do the most damage in the most scenarios. And the winner, of course, is Angron, followed by Mortarion, Magnus, Guilliman. It makes a lot of sense. Guilliman really suffering from not having Psychic here. But look, Angron makes up for it. He has no psychic and no shooting, and definitely tops the charts. Synergy-wise, we have Guilliman taking the cake, getting the highest score there of a 4. Angron, Mortarion, and Magnus following behind him. Magnus really, again, as we mentioned, subtracting buffs in many ways from your army, and Angron giving a surprising number of synergies to the world leaders. Finally, this one's the most straightforward of categories. This is simply how many points do they cost, and so the cheaper you are, the higher your score is going to be. Guilliman, of course, clocking in at 300 points is the highest, followed by Angron, Magnus, and Mortarion. So what does this mean? Let's take a look. Clocking in at 4th place, we have Magnus the Red, getting a measly 5 out of 12 potential Primarch points. Definitely losing here. Mortarion, 6 out of 12 potential Primarch points. We're hitting that halfway point. And in 2nd place, we have Guilliman, 9 out of 12. Followed very, very closely afterwards by Angron in 1st place, 10 out of 12. Really interesting because we see Angron takes the top of the damage charts, Guilliman takes the top of the synergy charts, and then cost-wise, it's very, very close. Ultimately, the thing that really pushed it over the edge is the fact that Guilliman is that much worse in melee than Angron. That single score of a 1 that really drags him down. So there you have it, Angron, the best Primarch on the table. Pretty interesting stuff. Most of these we don't see often right now competitively in the game, so hopefully that will change over the course of time, but this is the way things are. You know, at me in the comments, let's talk about this and see, what do you think? Should we be considering spiking? Do you have a case to be made for, let's see, poor old Magnus and why maybe he doesn't deserve last spot? That's gonna be it for us. I'll catch y'all next time on the tabletop. Bye-bye!